Vayishlach Yaakov Malachim Lefanov. When Yaakov sent Malachim before him, El Esav to his brother Esav, Arto Seir's de Edom, to the land of Seir, to the field of Edom. So the Mefarshim have difficulty here as to why we need so many different simonim as to where he sent these malachim. To Esav, his brother, that would have been fine. Could have stopped right there. Arto Seir, to the land of Seir, to the Edom, to the field of Edom. Why do we need all these simonim?
The question is,
why does the pasuk need to list all these different places? I mean, they're all simonim for the same place.
it's not a geography question, right? It's not like,
No, they are the same place.
I know it doesn't make world.
Right. The land of Seir and the field of Edom is the same place. And the pasuk didn't need to. We don't need to know. Why do we need to know where he was anyway? The pasuk could have just said, Yaakov sent messages to his brother Esav. And then there's the big question here. The question is, this whole mission that Yaakov sent these messengers was because he wanted to appease his brother Esav. Now, if you look back in Parshas told us, Rivka told Yaakov that you're to go to my brother Lavan to Haran and to remain there ad shuv af achicha mincha, until your brother's anger subsides. At that point, I will send for you, and you'll come back. And we know that Yaakov waited until she sent a shliach or a devorah. According to some it was the devorah was the shliach to come get him. So he should have assumed that Esau's anger has subsided, or else Rivka wouldn't have sent for him. So what do you need this whole shlichus all together? So the Chidah says that it's actually a very pshat vart, actually.
Oh, okay.
That al pi derech hateva, under ordinary circumstances, Esav should have, his anger should have subsided after so many years. We're talking, what is it, 22, 20?
14, not more than that. 14 he spent there,
Right,
14, 20, 34, at least 34 years.
Yeah, a lot of years. 34 years later, his anger should have subsided. It's just that Esav was such a rasha that he made for himself reminders to in order to remember his hatred against Yaakov. There are two things that Yaakov did to Esav. Right? One of them was he took his bechira, and the second one was that he took the brachas. The way he took the bechira was through the lentil soup, the adam hazeh. Right? Mm-hmm. That's why al kain karash ma'edem. That's why he was named Edom. So, in order to remember that offense that Yaakov did to Esav, Esav named the place where he lived Sdei Edom. To remember, this is the field of Edom. All the Adam hazeh, he took my bechira. The way he took the brachas was that he put on the big day Esav hasi'iros. He put on the hairy clothing of Esav. That's how he took the brachas. So Esav named his place Eretz Seir, the land of Seir, to remember. Oh, he took my brachas. Right. So in order to remember the things that Yaakov did to him, in order to maintain the hatred, he named his place Eretz Seir Sdei Edom. Mm-hmm. So Rivka had every right to believe that Esav had forgotten and Esav had forgiven. So she sent for Yaakov. Meanwhile, when Yaakov heard that Esav named his place Eretz Seir Sdei Edom, Yaakov realized that Esau was still holding on to the hatred.
Why 34 years as opposed to
Right.
Why she first waited till 2
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been 3 years. It could have
Yeah.
been 3 years.
I guess whatever it takes to forget those kinds of things. So Vayishlach Yaakov Malachim Lefanim El Esav Achim. Do you know why Yaakov had to send messengers to Esav, despite the fact that Rivka sent for him, and despite the fact that so many years had passed? Because Eretz Seiris De'eda, because of Eretz Seiris De'eda. So look at this side. So first of all, a couple additions that I have to this. Number one, we know that the Torah ordinarily encourages us to forgive and forget. Right? We're not Torah says. But there's one time where the Torah says to remember and never to forget. Remember what Amalek did to you. Don't forget. It's Pshat. Pshat is its measure if it's midah connected midah. Amalek is Esav. Esav decided never to forget. You never forget either. That's the, we're never to forget what Amalek did to us. But in addition to that, I believe that in the names of Edom and Seir lies the reason why Yaakov received the Bechorah and the Brachos. And this is a lesson for us, for all generations. The whole concept of Bechorah, the whole concept of the firstborn, is there's a very deep message connected to it. That is that everything in the world everything that exists has a chitzonius and a pneumius. There is the external part of it and the internal part of it, right? Whether it's an object, whether it's happenings in the world, everything has a chitzonius, and there's a pneumius. There's surface, that catches the eye, and then there's the depth, and the depth of everything is the message that the Rebbeinu Shalom is sending us. So, if we're looking at food or whatever it is, there's the chitzonius, there's that catches the eye, and then there's the pneumius. It means there's the Rebbeinu Shalom has given sustenance to whatever this is for a reason, right? Is this going to enhance my avodas Hashem, or is it going to distance me from avodas Hashem? If it's going to enhance my avodas Hashem, then that's something I should connect to. If it's something that's going to distance me from avodas Hashem, then I should be keeping away from it. I shouldn't be focusing on the alluring chitzonius, right? I should be focusing on the pneumius. And the same applies to all happenings in the world, right? We can take the chitzonius and say, "Wow, this is a dangerous situation. We got to keep away, and we got to, put all the." That's fine, the Gevaldik. But the pneumius, what's going on? What is the Rebbeinu Shalom? What kind of message is the Rebbeinu Shalom sending us? And every happening in the world has its message. We have to give priority to the pneumius and not to the chitzonius. So, where Bechor represents priority. Where is our priority? It's very interesting. I saw in a sefer recently. I believe it's he brought it from the Maral. That, right? You have a father, right? So before a person gives birth, right? So they're not a father, right? But they have within them the koyach of avus. They have the koyach of fatherhood. How did that pneumius come out? The pneumius comes out when the person gives birth to a firstborn. That's when the koyach of avus has come out the poil. It came from pneumius to chitzonius. Now, which is more important, the pneumius or the chitzonius? Which is primary, which is secondary? The av is primary, the bechor is secondary. Bechor, the way bechor is written is beis chaf reish. It's all secondary letters. Beis is number two of the singles. Chaf is number 2 of the tens, and reish is number 2 of the hundreds. Whereas av is aleph beis. Right? It's the aleph beis. It's the beginning. It's the primary. So bechor, the whole concept of bechor represents focusing on what is primary, which is the pneumius and not on the chitzonius. when Esav came in to Yaakov and didn't even care what kind of food it is, right? He said, just give me this red stuff. Esav, that's how superficial Esav was. Esav was totally focused on Chitzanis. So Yaakov said to him, listen here, somebody who asks for ha'adam adam hazeh is the antithesis of B'chayr. B'chayr is focusing on the previous. You can't have the B'chayr. Al Kain Korosh my Edom. That is why Esau was named Edom, because Edom represents the focus on Chitzanis. And that's why we're in Galus Edom. We're in a world that is so focused on superficiality that the whole Galus is called Galus Edom. So that's why Sdei Edom represents Yaakov's taking the B'chayr, because Ha'adam Adam Hazeh is the antithesis of B'chayr. Seir represents the Yaakov's taking the brachas. Without getting into a long arichas, the Chassam Sofer says that the reason Yitzchak wanted to give the brachas to Esav was because what Yitzchak was doing was he was transmitting the brachas of Avraham Avinu, the brachas of Avraham. He was transmitting them to the next generation. The brachas of Avraham Avinu were given to Avraham because he was a loner in a world of Avodah Avodah Zarah. Due to the fact that he was able to stand up to his generation and remain steadfast to his amunah, that's he was zeicha to the brachas. Says the Chassam Sofer that the brachas are only given over to someone who is in Esav's world, in Terach's world, in Lavan's world, and nevertheless is able to maintain and remain steadfast to what is holy and what we are committed to. Someone who is in the Beis Medrash Yom of Alayla, says Chassam Sofer, cannot be zeicha to the brachas because they're not surrounded by the same circumstances that Avraham Avinu was surrounded by. So the machlekes between Rivka and Yitzchak was who is more shaykh to the brachas. Yitzchak said it can't be Yaakov. Yaakov is in the oil Yom of Alayla. He can't have the brachas. It's the Esav who is in that world of Ish Tzayid, Ish Sadeh, and nevertheless he's asking Eich Masim Es HaTeven, right? How do you Masim the Teven? That's a person who deserves the brachas. And Rivka said, no, it's only Yaakov who is now in the oil. He will have the ability to later on go out in the world and be able to remain steadfast to his emunah. So, and in truth, says the Chassam Sofer that Yaakov was not zoicha to the brachas until he went to Laman's house. When he went to Laman's house, then he was zoicha to the brachas. He says, and that's why Yaakov sent a message to Esav, thanking him. I want to thank you for causing me to go to Lavan's house, because im Lavan garti, v'shetayag mitzvah shamarti, now I was zeicha to the brachas. If not for you, I would never be zeicha to the brachas. So that's why, says the Chassam Sofer, that's why when Yaakov received the brachas, he was only able to be zeicha to the brachas when he was wearing Big Day Esav. Because it's only somebody who wears Big Day Esav, the Chitzonius of Esav, and nevertheless he's able to remain steadfast as Amunah, that's the person who's zeicha to the brachas. So the wearing the Big Day Esav Asi'irois, that's how he was zeicha to the brachas.
That's why when Yaakov gave the brachas over, Keruv and Shimon immediately to Ephraim and Asher. They grew up in Mitzrayim.
Ephraim and Asher.
Ephraim and Asher grew up in Mitzrayim. They were zeicha the brachas that Reuven should have had.
Because they were
Mitzrayim.
Right. So that's why Sdei Edom represents the brachas, because Yaakov was zeicha to the brachas by not focusing on the Chitzonis, where Esav was. And the Arza Seir represents the taking the brachas, the Bechara. And Arza Seir represents taking away the brachas, because the brachas could only be zeicha wearing Esav's. It would be zeicha, always focus on the priority, and despite the fact that we're in Esav's world, we should be zeicha to remain steadfast to our emunah, and we should always zeicha to all the brachas of the Torah.
Amen.